Okay, gentlemen, today we're going to do section 2D, talking about compound interest. This is the most common form of interest, and the difference is that it calculates interest on both the principal and any previous interest. Oops. So in other words, if you earned interest the first year, then the interest for the second year is calculated on how much you owed plus that new interest amount. So compounding really makes things go up or go down very quickly. All right? So we're going to look at the formula for calculating compound interest, and it's quite easy. We have A equals P times 1 plus I raised to the nth power. Now, you've seen I before. I simply means the decimal, the rate is a decimal, and the P, etc. This time what you're going to notice, though, is that it's not giving you the amount of interest. Capital A always stands for the total amount or the total value of the deposit or how much you borrowed. So remember that A is the total amount. So that means interest plus principal, right? P, of course, is still the principal. I is the rate as a decimal. And again, you can use R, the rate, as a percent because you're going to put it into your calculator anyway. Your calculator will automatically change it into a decimal, so I'm not too bothered with that. And N is the number of years. However, we want a little asterisk there, because N is the number of years, but you can compound more than 1 year. Okay? Now this formula can be used for either deposits or loans. It's the same formula if you deposit money or if you borrow money. The formula stays the same. Now, sometimes you're going to be asked to find the amount of interest, and if you just remember that if the amount of interest is the interest plus the principal, then if you want the total amount of the loan, then all you have to do is find the difference. So the amount of interest is the total amount of the loan minus the principal. And that gives you the amount of interest. So remember that anytime, so in other words, this is an increase. So it's using that difference to find the amount of increase, just like we've done on every other increase problem. Okay? So that never changes if you're looking for that little part that it went up. All right. Now we need to talk about what happens if you compound more than once a year, because many times you could compound in periods that are more than once. So if compounding more than once per year, there are 2 steps. First, find the number of compounding periods. And we've talked about these. These can be weekly. They can even be daily. They can be a fortnight. Or it could be quarters. Or it can be some other combination of time. And we know that weekly is 26 weeks. We use 365 days in a year. We ignore leap years. Weekly is 52, by the way. Fortnightly is 26. and quarters means 4 times a year. These values we call K. So these are the times within a year that the compounding is done. Now, what we're going to do to find the total number of sorry about that. So to find our n, if you compound more than once a year, you're going to take that k, whatever it is, daily, weekly, etc., and you're going to multiply it times your t, which t equals the number of years. And that'll take care of our n for us, that exponent on the brackets, if we're compounding for more than one time in a year and if we're compounding for more than 1 year, right? We have to compensate for both of them. The second thing we need to do, so step 2, is we need to find the interest rate for each period. Because if you change the number of times you're charging interest or collecting interest, then you can't use the annual rate. Instead, we have to divide it up into pieces. So what we're going to do is divide our R by our K. So whatever those weekly, daily, whatever periods are, we need to divide it by that amount. So we simply take the annual rate and divide it by the number of periods. Okay? And we'll look at some examples of these. And again, remember, it could be daily, in which case you'd be dividing by 365. It could be fortnights, which you'd be divided by 26. Whatever the annual rate is, you will divide by the number of periods. Now, when we meet in class, we'll look at some examples of all of these, but try to work on remembering these patterns, but you will be given these particular formulas on your formula sheet. All right, see you in class.